Hello, I'm Annie Clarke, and today I'm going to be guiding you through a 20-minute yoga class. So, we're going to be using both movement and breath. And this whole practice can be done in two ways. You could be on the floor if you have a mat, or if you don't have a mat, you could use something like a towel to pad underneath your knees. But equally, if you would rather do this practice from a chair, then that is also totally fine. And along the way, I'll be giving the instruction and the modifications for both setups. So find something that works for you, your body, your environment. And we're going to begin in a comfortable seat. So if you are sitting on the floor, I've got a block like this underneath my hips that can help kind of get into this shape. But any comfortable seated pose is totally fine. You could even lean your back against the wall. And then you're going to take your hand to the back of the head. So we tend to lead with our chin, especially if we've been at a computer or rushing around. And so what I want to invite you to do now is to hold the back of your head, so that bit where the head and the neck meet, the occiput. And then you're going to let your hand move back about half an inch or an inch. And then see if you can move the back of the head into the hand and notice how that changes kind of the shape of the upper back. So you start to lengthen the spine, you start to lengthen the back of the neck. And then with that tall spine, you're rooting down through the sitting bones. And this is the same if you're in a chair. You could just have both legs bent in front of you. You start to close your eyes and drop into a sense of noticing your breath. So become aware of your breath and the way that it moves in and out of the body. And it's almost as though as you breathe here, you are scanning the various layers of your being. So the physical body, the mind, our energy. What is going on for you today? Maybe this pathway of the breath leads you to notice that the jaw is really tight. Can you soften the jaw? And noticing if the breath is deep or shallow, and whether the inhalation or the exhalation is more full. Just using these first few moments to land into this awareness of the breath provides us with a pathway straight into the present moment. So it's an incredibly valuable tool. Good. We're going to start to bring a little bit of movement in. So perhaps just take a couple of rolls of the shoulders in one direction and then back the other way. And then interlace your hands in front of you, palms facing towards the heart, backs of the hands pushing away. And it's as though as you spread through the back of the shoulders and push the back of the hands away, you're kind of seeing how big and broad you can make the back of the body. Good. And then turn the palms forwards. You're going to root down through the sitting bones as you reach your arms up over your head. Good. Now from here, you can gently pour to one side. If you're seated, you may prefer to place the hand onto the floor and lean over and just stay for a couple of breaths, just really turning your heart up towards the sky, lengthening through the side of the body. We can gain a little bit of support by engaging through the core. Come back through the center. And either just reaching straight up or one hand down, one hand up and over. You can let the neck soften. Look down to one side. Good, and then come back to the center. If you're sitting on a block, it might feel good. If it doesn't, then just take it out from underneath you. You're going to place your hands onto your thighs and just make little circles. So again, you can do this if you're in a chair, just shuffle yourself forwards a little bit to give yourself space. So as you come forward, it's like you're pouring forwards, leading from the sternum. And as you come back, it's like you're being pulled back behind the heart, a gentle tuck of the tailbone. Good, and then maybe back the other way. And you're still just with your breath, moving and breathing in this connected way. Let's let those circles get a little bit smaller and smaller and smaller until you arrive in a long spine seated pose again. And then we're going to make our way onto the hands and the knees if you're on a mat. If not, just stay as you are. So we're going to take a cat-cow of the spine. So if you're seated, you can do this by lifting up through the heart and exhale, tucking the tailbone. So that's the movement that we're making. You can do that on your chair. If you're on the hands and the knees, then you might know it as a cat-cow. So as you inhale, you lead from the heart, lengthen forwards. And as you exhale, push the ground away with the hands, broaden the space between the shoulders and the back body again. And we just move through this very simple pattern with our breath. So as you inhale, the heart moves forward, shoulders drop away from the ears. And exhale, rounding through, tuck the tailbone, push the ground away. Good, and then come back to a neutral spine. A little added option if you're on the hands and the knees is that you can tuck the toes. This will probably feel quite intense for some of you, so you can always flatten the feet to the ground if it's too much. We're going to move into the wrists. We're going to take a little stretch through wrists. Hold on to the right lower arm or the just kind of below the wrist itself and draw down a downward action with the left hand as you make a fist. And then start to kind of circle out through that right wrist, and there'll probably be some pops and cracks, and then you go back the other way. Good. And remember, if it's a lot being in the toe stretch at the same time, let it go so you're not bringing too much tension into the body. And let's swap to the other side. Really big circles moving into the whole of the kind of circumference of the wrist joint. Good. Give both of those a shake and then interlace the hands. From the interlace, start to make a little wave. Keep going in one direction. There'll be one that's much more natural than the other. This is the unnatural side for me. And back the other way. And maybe it'll feel a little bit kind of more smooth. Good. And then come back to the center, shake out the wrists. Another little roll. And we're going to come down onto our seat again. So if you're on a chair, you're going to do exactly the same thing, but instead of leaning back, you're sitting nice and upright. If you are on the ground, you're going to take the right foot and place it onto the left thigh. Now, it can help to do it with the legs straightened. You're going to flex this foot and just mindful of the knee here. If it's uncomfortable in the knee, then I'm going to ask you to release the pose. So roll your shoulders back and down, and then bend that left knee as much as you feel comfortable doing. So you're really lifting this kind of proud chest, flexing the right foot, and we start to stretch into the glutes on the right side. I'm going to take a couple of breaths. Good. And then lengthen that left leg away again. This right foot is going to come over to the outside of the left thigh, and if it's too much, you can just step it to the inside. You're going to hug it with the left hand as you bring your right hand to the base of the spine, flex through your left toes. Now, if you've got arms on the chairs and you feel a little bit restricted in space, then you can always just use the arm to encourage the twist, but we're not wrenching ourselves in. We're just gently lengthening the spine and using the exhale breath to draw us into a twist. And then a little release. Take a twist to the other side. Good. Now coming back to the center, swap over to the other side. So the left foot comes to the top of the right thigh. Hands behind your back or by your sides if you're on your chair. You're going to bend that right knee if it isn't already bent. Flex the left toes. Just really pay attention to pushing through that heel. If you switch it off, it's definitely less intense, but you start to put pressure through the knee. So push through the heel. Use your breath. Good. As you exhale, release that leg. Step the left foot over to the outside of the right thigh and hug it with the right arm, left hand to the base of the spine. And then really lengthen through the torso. Draw your belly button in towards your spine. Look over your left shoulder. Soften the jaw. Good. Little twist to the other side. And then release. Now, a couple of options here. We're going to bring ourselves up to standing. You could cross the ankles and roll over the knees if you've got, if your knees aren't too sensitive. Otherwise, just take the feet to one side. And we're going to come to standing. So if you're coming from the ground, just move really slowly, gently stacking up the spine. If you're coming up from seated, we'll meet you at the top, where we're going to take both arms up over your head. So your feet are hip width apart, and a little bit like a moment ago, you're going to take hold of the right wrist in the left hand. And we're going to take that side body stretch, but just with a slightly different hand variation. So softness in the knees. And really breathe, feel the fullness of the breath coming into the side of the body without losing the length of the left side. And then come up through the center and swap to the other side. So reach up at the top, little softness in the knees. You can look down to the outside of the right foot as you pull your body to the right side. Good. And then come back through the center. This time you're going to interlace the hands behind your back. Now, if you can't take hold of the hands like this, you could always take opposite elbow instead. You're going to interlace the hands and open up the chest. We come back to that proud chest so that we're not dipping into the lower back. You have kind of active energy through the core. As you push down through the feet, open up your chest. Now, maybe this is enough for you here. Otherwise, perhaps you could fold forwards and just take the hands over your head to get a little bit of an extra stretch there. But wherever you are is great. So just work with where you are today. Meet yourself where you are. If you are folding forwards, you release the hands. You're going to roll up really slowly, pushing down through the feet. And as you arrive, roll the shoulders back and let's place the hands at the heart. Just take a moment to feel into the body. Notice how the energy is moving through every single cell. How the breath is nurturing the body with every inhale and allowing a sense of softening release with the exhale. Good. And then place your hands down onto your hips. You're going to step the right foot back. Good. Hands are on the hips. Your feet are hip width wide, and the step shouldn't be so long that it's hard to find your balance. So you can adjust it if you need to. Now, very small micro bend in the knees, but lift up through the thighs as though your legs are completely straight. Then draw the elbows back, chest is forward. You're going to root down through the feet, gather up and fold. So just to the point where you start to feel a bit of a stretch through the back of the left leg. Good, and then come up, push through your feet, step forwards. And swap to the other side. So left foot steps back, lengthen your right leg. It doesn't matter how far you fold, you could always use the support of your chair or a desk or the wall if you struggle with balance or if your balance feels a little bit off today. Good. And push down through the feet to come all the way up. You're going to look forward, step that left foot to meet the right foot, and let both hands drop to the sides. Good. Now from here, if you're moving to a chair, you're just going to bring yourself gently back onto your seat. If you're coming down to the ground, let's reach the arms up. Exhale, fold all the way down and walk your hands forwards just so you can shift weight into your shoulders and lower your knees where your feet were. Good. And then from here, you can just take the feet from underneath you and come back to that comfortable seated pose that you found at the beginning. But this time, you're going to close your eyes and place the left hand on the heart and the right hand to the navel. And drop back into your breath. Notice where the breath is bringing spaciousness to the body. And can you encourage that breath a little bit deeper down into the navel? Reconnect to the rhythm of your own breath with a gentle encouragement for it to lengthen with each inhale. And just allow yourself to be here fully. If the mind is wandering away, bring it back to the breath. And you have a choice to stay seated or perhaps come to lie down on the back of the body for relaxation. If it serves you to keep the hands here, then let them rest on the front of the body. Otherwise, allow them to release down onto the thighs or the lap. And bring softness to the jaw, to the corners of the mouth. And if you are taking yourself to lie down on the ground, just take a breath in and let out a big sigh, let it go. And let your body be held by the earth beneath you. And if you're seated, you let yourself drop deeper into that seat. And wherever you are, you can take your time to really enjoy this space that you're creating in your day, just to disconnect from this stimulus of the space around you and drop into the simplicity of your own breath. But when you feel ready to do so, you'll bring your hands to meet at your heart. Take a deep breath in and a big sigh to let it go. And just take a moment of gratitude as you seal your practice. Let it resonate through every single cell of your being, this deep knowing that within you is the wisdom, the anchor that will guide you through whatever it is that you move through. And the most simple way to connect to that is just through the breath. Let's take another inhale in. And a big sigh, let it go. Thank you for your practice today.